My dear students, जो आप लोगों ने क्वेरी रेज की कि लोनेबल फंड्स थ्योरी के आधार पर ब्याज का निर्धारण कैसे हो सकता है, तो नाउ इट इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थ्योरी फॉर द डिटर्मिनेशन ऑफ रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट। आपकी बहुत अच्छी क्वेरी, बट यू शुड बी कॉशियस इन दिस रिगार्ड दैट इट इज अ न्यू क्लासिकल थ्योरी। If the objective type question is relating to the which type of theory, new classical or modern, so then you will apply it is a new classical theory for the determination of rate of interest. ये नव प्रतिष्ठित सिद्धांत इसको बोला जाता है. It has been developed by the different new classical economists, namely Sir Robertson, Wicksell, Medal, etc. Now you should be cautious in this regard that what are the major demand sources for the loanable fund and what are the supply sources, कि वास्तव में कौन कौन से क्या कारण हैं, क्या उद्देश्य हैं जिसके आधार पर लोनेबल फंड्स की डिमांड की जाती और सप्लाई सोर्सेस कौन कौन से हैं. So now I want to suggest you there are the several demand sources. The first one is known as the consumption, secondly investment, thirdly the hoarding. ये मुख्य होल्डिंग मीन संचय, इन्वेस्टमेंट निवेश करने के लिए आप जानते हैं, कंजम्पशन उपभोग आप जानते हैं. बट on the other hand, in order to meet out these demand sources, what are the major supply sources? इसके सप्लाई सोर्सेस कौन से? तो आपूर्ति करने के जो स्रोत हैं उन पे भी ध्यान देने की आवश्यकता है. So now there are the several sources for making supply. The first one that is known as the disinvestment, जैसे विनिवेश हिंदी में कहा जाता है. Secondly, डिसहोल्डिंग, जिसे अपसंचय कहा जाता है. द नेक्स्ट वन सेविंग्स, जिसे बचत कहा जाता है. एंड लास्टली बैंक मनी, जिसे बैंक मुद्रा के नाम से जाना जाता है. So now yeah, step by step, one by one, we should be cautious and get knowledge about each and every component. इसे हम लोग समझेंगे. You can also explain this theory, that is the loanable funds theory for the interest rate determination. इसे हिंदी में ब्याज निर्धारण करने के लिए ऋण योग्य कोष का सिद्धांत कहा जाता है. You can easily consider and explain with the help of graphical derivation. Now we are moving. Now we have drawn many two panels. Two things which are most important for the purpose of the explanation this theory. So now the first panel, which you know as the sources. The first panel would be the first panel will surely show to you all the demand and supply sources. And secondly, you will find the interest rate determination. So now here it is very important thing that how do, so graphically आप डायग्राम से कैसे दिखाएंगे. So now here it show the amount of loanable fund. Amount of loanable funds, इसको हिंदी में कहेंगे ऋण योग्य कोष की मात्रा on x axis and rate of interest. Rate of interest on y-axis. Now, firstly, we are going to draw the different demand sources. The first one, which is known as the hoarding. Now, we have drawn the first source, demand source, that is hoarding. H stands for hoarding. हिंदी में इसे संचय बोला जाता है. We have already told you that generally the demand curves are negatively sloped, remain negatively sloped. They show the negative relationship between the rate of interest and amount of loanable funds. हमने बताया कि जो डिमांड सोर्सेज सामान्यतया नॉर्मली हम लोग देखते हैं निगेटिवली स्लोप्ड, ऋणात्मक रूप से. देयरफॉर this holding curve is also just like the demand curve because it is the demand source. The next demand source is termed as, it is consumption. C stands for consumption, upbhog, which is also negatively sloped. And third demand source is investment. I stands for investment, nivesh. So now we have drawn all these demand sources which were suggested by new classical theory. Now whenever we get the summation of all these demand sources, we find the aggregate demand for loanable funds. So now you can draw under the next panel the aggregate demand for loanable funds would also be negatively sloped because it has been derived by the summation of all these types of demand sources. ये जितने भी हमने बताए द फर्स्ट, सेकेंड एंड थर्ड, इनको अगर हम ऐड कर देंगे तो ये क्या बन जाएगा? बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू द एग्रीगेट डिमांड फॉर लोनेबल फंड. तो जब ये सारे हमारे नेगेटिवली स्लोप्ड है तो ADLF एग्रीगेट डिमांड फॉर लोनेबल फंड वुड आल्सो बी नेगेटिवली स्लोप्ड, जस्ट लाइक it would be known as ADLF. The ADLF stands for aggregate demand for loanable funds. It is the summation or aggregate of all these demand sources. Now we are moving towards the derivation of the supply sources. What are the supply sources which have been suggested under this theory? The firstly, which is known as the dish holding. DH stands for dish holding. Dish holding, what do you mean by the dish holding? Which was previously kept in the house to meet out the random needs or accidental need. Now that amount is being utilized for the money lending. कि जो आपने यहाँ अभी सेविंग की थी होल्डिंग के रूप में घरों में, और वो आप इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं लोन देने के लिए. तो therefore it is now has been termed as this holding. Supply source, supply curve is positively sloped. Normally the supply curve is positively sloped in nature, therefore it has been positively sloped. The next supply source which is known as the DI. DI stands for disinvestment. Now, this is the specific source which was previously demanded for the making investment, but now it has been utilized for the lending the money. कि जो चीज़ आपने इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए पहले डिमांड की थी, जो इन्वेस्टर्स होते हैं, व्यवसायी होते हैं, बिजनेसमैन होते हैं, और वो क्या कर रहे हैं? वो ये कर रहे हैं कि उसे लोन देने के लिए यूज कर रहे हैं. तो नाउ previously which has been demanded for the investment, so now it has been converted into the DI, is being utilized for the lending money. So now here next supply source that is known as BM. BM stands for bank money. The bank money is also a specific supply source for money lending. And last, that is source, specific source which is known as S. S stands for savings. So now in this way we have drawn all the supply sources. When we go to add all these supply sources, so then we find the aggregate supply of loanable fund. When all these supply sources are positively sloped, then the ASLF would also be positively sloped. ASLF stands for aggregate supply of loanable funds. Now, what is the condition for getting the equilibrium under the money market, the condition ADLF should be equal to ASLF. Aggregate demand for loanable fund should be equal to aggregate supply of loanable fund. So now this condition has been fulfilled and justified or satisfied at the point E, because we are getting the equality at this point. Now we can see the equilibrium under the money market has existed now at the point E, because this condition is being fulfilled here. So now in order to get the aggregate quantity of loanable funds, we have to draw the vertical line on x-axis. Now we can say that OM is the aggregate demand of loanable fund or aggregate supply of loanable fund, because both of them are mutually equal to each other at the point E. At the point E, ADLF is equal to ASLF. तो दोनों में इक्वालिटी हो गई, तो दोनों इक्वल होंगे, तो चाहे ADLF कहोगे तो भी आपका OM आएगा, अगर ASLF की बात करोगे तो भी OM आएगा. At this equilibrium point, what is the rate of interest? In order to decide the rate of interest, we have to draw the vertical line on the y-axis. Then after we find this vertical line is tangent on y-axis at the point R. So now we can say the rate of interest is R. In this way, we have decided the rate of interest through loanable funds theory. You can easily decide what is the rate of interest and what is the amount of loanable fund at the equilibrium. You can easily decide or determine with the help of this theory, which is the new classical theory. Now we have determined. If you have any query, you can raise in the next time.